Hi everyone, thank you for joining us for this Doc Talk today as part of the Cannes Docs industry program here at the Marché du Film. We have a great and important panel starting in a minute. We try at Cannes Docs to go slightly beyond or outside of the traditional strictly market industry box to tackle subjects and issues of our times which we think are important, and this is definitely one of them. Filmmakers collectives rising up in Eastern Europe. Our dear friend Céline, who is markets manager at IDFA and active member of the Documentary Association of Europe, with whom we are curating the series of Doc Talks at Cannes Docs, will be moderating this panel. Thank you for this, Céline. And thank you, all four of you, for participating today. It's a pleasure to have you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Pierre-Alexis, for having us and for organizing this panel about collective resistance and making films and making politics and resisting. So I find it really interesting to be in this beautiful Cannes, and we're talking about industry and there's cocktails being drank and all this, we're all wearing beautiful lipsticks today, but there's also some really serious work and some really important things happening. And these illustrious people that are with me on this stage have a big part to play in it. So I'm excited to spend the next hour moderating this panel, highlighting these brilliant film professionals. That's the note I make. Who have worked or working and continue to work to collectivize, to resist, to win independence and autonomy, so that their community of filmmakers can make and distribute work free of censorship and government oppression. I just want to take a nice little minute to really introduce each of you, because you have really important and illustrious biographies that I want to make sure everybody reads. Next to me I have Volya Tchaikovskaya. You're a Belarus, Estonia-based director, producer, festival founder. You founded the Northern Lights Film Festival in Belarus in 2015, and now it's been taking place in exile since 2020. You produced the road movie My Granny from Mars, Prasnik, Yo-Yogi. You're an on-site film producer and director in All Film, which is in Estonia now, since 2019, and you had your directorial debut, Common Language, which was premiered at Jilava in 2020. You have also co-founded the Belarusian Independent Film Academy, which I think we'll spend some time talking about because it's very special, in 2022. And now in 2023, you launched Vodblisk, which is an independent Belarusian online cinema. So quite the work. Next to you, we have Marta Czepkowska. You're also a film and documentary series producer. And over the past 10 years, you've produced a number of documentary series. Many of these series have been with wonderful Polish directors and in collaboration with BBC in Poland and Discovery Channel. You also develop and produce full-length documentary films. And currently your focus is on international co-production, very important part of the ecosystem. You serve as the head of international co-production at Orca, which is one of the largest production and post-production companies in Poland. You completed the women producers programs such as the EVA and ProPro. And you see, you've done so much. Many wonderful things. The point is, you are also, many initiatives. You're an active member of the Polish Producers Association, KIPA, and the Polish Association of Filmmakers. So also deeply involved in the community.
I will work on this presentation for next panel.
I enjoyed saying it. You've done a lot.
Yes, I'm very active.
Exactly. Next to you, we have Luba Knorozok. You're the producer of documentary and feature films based in Kyiv, in Ukraine. Your movies have participated in many festivals, including the Berlinale, Doc Leipzig, Oberhausen, New Horizont, many others. Do we have Cannes in here? Yeah, you've received some awards, the Cannes Film Festival. It's good to point it out, we're here. DocuDays, Molodist, Kiev International Film Festival. You produce projects with the BBC World News, the European Cultural Foundation, the Romatsky TV Network, Al Jazeera English, Vice, and many others. And we're going to spend some time talking about a very important project that you're working on called the Reckoning Project. And then, last but not least, we have the wonderful Irina Gelashvili. You're also a film producer. You're the founder of a production company called Radium Films. You're based in Tbilisi these days. Yeah, born and now based in Tbilisi, Georgia. You're also a PhD student, which is cool. Georgian Theater and Film University, and you work on many projects. Yeah, you've been a mediator in the regions, you show movie classes, you organize lectures. Since 21, you've been the director of the Georgian Scriptwriters Company, which is a script lab of Georgia. You work in the field of animation as a production manager. After attending ITFA at the Producers Connection, I was happy to host that with you. You're now a member of DAY. You're an alumnus of EAVE Change, and you also did Eurodoc in 2023, so doing a lot of stuff with the European industry. Now, between the four of you, there's like an entire career's worth of wonderful work being done. And also, you are a member of DOCA, the Documentary Association in Georgia, and I know that you're very involved with the Independent Film Institute as well, so I think we will discuss that too. Of course we will. Okay, so to get into it, now that you know with the kind of talent we're on stage with, it's clear that you each work with a unique set of circumstances. We're talking hostile governments, exile, active full-scale invasions. You know, you're using a diversity of approaches with some similarities. And I think actually with the kind of international global delegates that are here in Cannes, a lot of you might recognize some of these resistance movements and some of these situations in your own communities. So I'd like to really ask you to take the time to really give us the context and the reasons that led you to collectivize in your community, and the kinds of the ones I touched upon, associations, academies, projects that you've created, and what role they fulfill for you. And if you want, we'll just continue to go in this direction. So Volya, would you like to start?
Hi, everyone. Nice to see that people are coming, and we have an audience that is just a little bit less than the previous showcase of animation, Asian animation. It's great to have some people here. What I would like to say, I think maybe I would like to start with some sort of like a context that I exist in and that maybe not so many people are familiar with. I'm Belarusian. I moved to Estonia in 2018. And I've been since then I've been already producing and running a Northern Lights Film Festival. But in 2020, when I was graduating from master's degree in Baltic Film and Media School in Estonia, there's been massive protests happening in Belarus because of yet another fraudulent elections in Belarus, and there's been unprecedented violence applied towards peaceful citizens, and because of that, hundreds of thousands of people were put in jail, recognized as political prisoners, tortured and beaten in Belarus, and they are still in Belarus since then. And they are still in jail, and there are some very major big political figures who are direct opponents of dictator Lukashenko, and they were. We haven't heard from behind the bars from them for over a year, so we actually don't even know whether they're dead or alive. Yeah, that's the context we are living in. Since 2020, I think altogether, I would say around 2 million Belarusians had to leave the country, had to flee the country. It's quite a huge number. It's a massive brain drain. It's like from the perspective of 2024, it looks very pessimistic, to be completely honest. Still, I mean, of course, we don't give up. Like me as a film producer and a festival runner, we continued to run in a festival since 2020, regardless the threats from the state media directly towards me and towards the festival and towards many other filmmakers. Me, myself, I cannot go back home. I haven't been to Belarus for 5 years. I haven't seen my parents since then, and I'm not the only one. There are so many people like myself, and even in way worse situations. So I just wanted to give this very, very serious, like apocalyptic impression of the context where we live in. In 2020, as you all know, Russia invaded Ukraine, attacked Ukraine, and it took place from the Belarusian territory. And of course, we were really, really disturbed, and we didn't even consider the current president of Belarus legit since 2020, because he basically fabricated their election results, and still he allowed Putin to attack Ukraine from our territory, and we were furious. And what we did, basically united as a film community. Like, long story short, we united as a film community. We produced an anti-war statement that was signed by over 130 people, like filmmakers. We actually didn't even know that we are so many. And we published this statement, anti-war statement, in as many international media as possible to make it as visible as possible. And of course, since then, we've been facing some bans and some difficulties as people who are holding Belarusian passports. This is, of course, unfortunately inevitable in this situation. So we were trying to push as hard as we can as a community to actually make our anti-war voice heard. And the result of this anti-war statement after half a year was that we actually set up a Belarusian Independent Film Academy, an institution. Basically, it's an NGO registered in Estonia, where I'm based, that unites and embraces all the independent voices, filmmakers from Belarus. Mainly, they are living in exile at the moment. Some of them are in Belarus, but they are incognito as members of our organization because it's not safe for them, because we've been very, very open about our anti-war statement. And since then, we organized twice Belarusian Independent Film Academy pavilions at Berlinale, which for us was a big deal to actually introduce the independent Belarusian cinema. And it was the first time when the Belarusian cinema actually had a pavilion at European Film Market in Berlin. So, am I over time?
Oh, you're doing well.
Okay. Yeah, basically, that's a little bit of a context. And the problem with the overall Belarusian filmmaking and Belarusian film industry is that since the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, the Belarusian film industry never managed to be established as a proper civilized, transparent film industry, and we are still facing the consequences of that. And while my colleagues are struggling, or were struggling with the institutions that are censoring the content, we actually also do have a Ministry of Culture back inside the country that is allocating funds for film production. But for example, myself as an independent film producer, with the films that I have been producing, like My Granny from Mars, about the annexation of Crimea, done by a Belarusian director, were never supported and had zero chances to be supported by the Belarusian Ministry of Culture. So, and there is no way how independent producers or independent filmmakers can actually get support from the state in Belarus, and especially after 2020. So what are we trying to do now? I mean, it sounds very optimistic, like filmmakers, collectives rising up in Eastern Europe, and I think in a way it is optimistic because the difficulties push us to actually unite, but at the same time, It's also like we feel a little bit like we are struggling in our own bubble and pushing the wall that cannot be actually pushed further because of so many different circumstances and obstacles. Like we really need support with like pushing more funds to make our organization running. To actually, we are struggling as a Belarus Independent Film Academy to push for organizing like a film foundation that can be actually helpful to support the production of Belarusian films done by the filmmakers in exile. Because basically what is happening now is like many people left in 2020, many people left in 2022, and now people are filmmakers, Belarusian filmmakers, they are releasing films or finishing the films that they were working on since then. And after that, most of them are in exile. We cannot go back, we cannot travel back, because will be basically arrested at the border and put in jail for we don't know how long. So we don't actually have even access to our home country to be able to properly organize the film production. And this is very, very challenging. And for us, not only in terms of funding, but also in terms of like topic-wise, we risk to I know that some Belarusian filmmakers are very desperate about they cannot travel back home, and they kind of are we losing this connection, like we cannot touch our land, like we don't have any documentary material to shoot, and this might be like a problem. At the same time it's like a huge political problem, the only thing we can do is like keep on pushing and keep on raising awareness and telling people our story, and pushing for financial support actually for filmmakers to be able to actually stay in the profession, because it's very problematic to stay in the profession when you're in exile and when you cannot film in your home country. I would say something like that.
We'll get to, that's the last part of this talk, is how the support that you might get from some of these collaborators in the room. One of them will be how to get more support for your academy. But actually, I would like to ask you, Marta, to tell us a bit more, because your context has been through different iterations of dire and then better and then... Tell us more.
Yes, and thank you, Documentary Association of Europe, for including us, also Poland, to this conversation. We are in slightly different situation comparing us, and it's really hard to compare us to other countries, Eastern European countries, and it's a very tricky title, because we are talking, the title is We Are Rising collective collaborations, but how can we rise? How can we rise when there is a war in Ukraine? There is a dictatorship in Belarus, and people are protesting in Georgia. But something different happened in Poland, something unusual, and whole people decided to go to the polls and vote in November. And we again turning our eyes into Europe and into a democracy, and so we are happy today. And so I want to say to you, all of you, that we are changing and we are transforming, and there are a lot of wonderful activists and people, and they are not from October. They were always for us, and maybe it's our national specialty. Maybe it comes from communism. Maybe in communism we learn how to connect, how to support each other and create art, and our best art and best films comes from communism, because people had to support each other, working, hidden somewhere. So we have a lot of wonderful collaborations. But I understand also collaborations on many levels. It's simply by supporting someone who is weaker than you, who is, emerging producer, who is, first-time director. But and what was the most important for me, it was international cooperation and support from other countries. And I remember protesting in Poland. I remember we had huge protests in Poland when Putin attacked Ukraine. And then we felt miserable, and we felt that we are also losing our situation. And I got support from other international institutions. I was invited to the producers program, and I learned how to do international co-productions. So this was amazing that I could, and I wouldn't be here today speaking to you without support from other foreign country. So this is very important to support. And I feel that Poland is stronger right now, and it's strong right now. And we want to support other Eastern European countries, Ukraine, Belarus, and Georgia. You are very close to our hearts, and not because we are afraid of Russia. And it's not that it's a danger only for Poland, it's a danger for the whole world and Europe. So this is very important. And I feel that Poland is right now very strong. It's stronger than, I think, stronger than ever. And you have to remember, we are 38 million people in my country. We have great funds, we have great institutions, Polish Public TV and great regional funds who even more eagerly supports documentary filmmakers. But we have to improve our system. And there's a lot to improve. But we need great leaders and great experts to improve this. So documentary filmmakers definitely can change the world. And I believe in documentary filmmaking very much. This is very important. And I'm really, really grateful for having me here. Sorry for being a little bit emotional, but for years, over past 8 years in Poland, we tried to find our voice. And I don't know, we overcame somehow communism. And right now we are again looking into Europe. And maybe you will win someday with your fights. And I'm also grateful for inviting Belarus here. There are artists, important artists. And of course, Ukraine. I operate and work, and I have projects. We have great Ukraine festival in Poland. My friend, my also co-producer, invented this festival. But it's not one event. It's not that we are helping one time. And people are tired sometimes of these problems. There are maybe problems somewhere else in different countries, in different parts of the world. And they are then interested in another conflict, another problem. So it's difficult to support someone for a longer time, but it's important.
Well, I think that, and you mentioned these co-productions and the ability to turn to your neighbors and to collaborate together, and you're now in a good position to do that in Poland.
Yes.
And that's the first step in these like neighborly collaborations and this kind of resistance and support. When we were having a pre-talk and we talked about Eastern European collectives rising up, Luba said, we've always been rising. Like, this is not new. We've been working and resisting for as long as, I don't know, as long as I know. And so Luba, tell us a bit more about this resistance.
Yeah, hello, thank you for coming, everybody. Of course, I can talk for ages about different collective experiences of our work, how we are trying to create great films and to survive not because, but instead of our previous and now governmental film policy. But I would not start this conversation here today. I want to concentrate on another not positive, but more inspiring and more practical example of what I'm doing now. First of all, I want to say that I'm running I'm a member of a collective of filmmakers, Kinotron Group, that are there around 7 years. And legally, of course, we are production, but we try to avoid this phrasing and naming just to concentrate and frame our work differently. And our films are oftentimes political, sometimes experimental. Mostly they are documentaries, sometimes also fiction. But we were working on the political topics, and since like we mostly working on this, and therefore with the full-scale invasion in 2022, it literally didn't change nothing for us. It's more intensified and make it more crucial, the whole work of all our members and supporters. And therefore, in the very beginning, in spring 2022, we decided to unite in a different form, and we joined as a documentary collective with our fellow colleagues, like journalists, historians, researchers, human rights activists, and also lawyers and legal workers, which was surprised for me personally, as I never expected that they would work in a legal field. We created the Reckoning project. Mostly it's a Ukrainian project, but also international, because we have in our core team international famous journalists and writers. And this is a mixture, this is a combination of media and investigation project, forensic project. We aim to preserve all the testimonies of victims or witnesses of different war crimes committed by Russian Federation on the territory of Ukraine, and in order they will be later possibly used in courts, or like the memory will be preserved. Of course, like we work ever since, unfortunately, so this is kind of a good example and working example what you can do and how you can oppress, but somebody can say that what one small documentary filmmaker could change. And what we do, for example, there are many filmmakers, documentary filmmakers, many journalists, many historians. So it's kind of what we call the truth seekers professions, representatives of these professions. And they record, so we have a huge archive of testimonies that actually could be used potentially in court in the future. Because people could forget, they could die, they could be biased by any other information, but this information will be there. And later, we cooperate with different kinds of media, starting from journalists, ending up with documentary theaters. We published a book, we did a documentary play in Britain, we ran in a podcast, we did, in the course of the last 2 years, we did up to 15 movies, short documentaries in different forms. We trying to share them as much as possible, and but also what is really interesting that we engage in different, so not only artistic players, but like we have a legal team. We work closely with legal advisors, data analysts, and actually it brings a lot of new things to documentary storytelling, because you would never, for example, ask, as a filmmaker, you would never ask which color of shoes or socks those soldier has or had. It's for example, but then such questions during the testimony recordings bringing and open up such a powerful, intimate stories that people start to remember something, then they coming back, and then, so actually these testimonies, it's a huge, huge archive that later could be used by historians, but this and that. Also, we actually this year, this spring started what we really wanted to, like a fight for real justice, not the real, but like more traditional justice. We filed a case of torture in Argentinian court. So for precise perpetrators of Russian soldiers in Argentina, because they have this universal jurisdiction and they experienced, unfortunately, in the torture cases. And this is the first case Ukraine brought to Argentina, and hopefully it will proceed. So what I want to tell in general, when I talk with colleagues from different filmmaker communities, everybody's I feel the frustration, general frustration, like what can we do? Okay, we can participate in the talk, or we can write an article, we can do a movie, but what will it change? Okay, we can prepare everything for court, but nobody, how many people you think they will be in jail after? And then our legal team is answering like, come on, without your support, without your writings, without your publications, without your films, we would not do anything at all. So it works only in combination. So continue your work. It helps us to continue our work. And this was told to us for example, by some prosecutors from The Hague who participated in the prosecution of Milosevic. And they said, if then in Zeros we would have such power of documentary storytelling, we would do our work better, and we would not do many, many mistakes, because you're watching us, you're covering, you're telling the story, you're spreading the information. And it was kind of inspiring.
That's incredibly inspiring. That is
the
reason why a documentary filmmaker wakes up in the morning, is if they can understand they can make a difference. And the Reckoning Project seems to really, in the most smart, pragmatic way and creative way, work in that direction.
The most smart. That's what we tailored it this way. If there will be a better solution, let's join and share. Yeah,
it's really interesting. Irina, so actually maybe some of you have been watching the news in Tbilisi in the last few weeks. We certainly have. So Irina just came from there. We had a phone call in her car last week. You had just been in the protests. So this is all very fresh for you, I know.
Yes.
Welcome here. Tell us more that we don't know. Tell us the context and everything.
Thank you that you're listening to us, because for us, all of us, it's very important. As I won't be focused on what's going on at this moment in Georgia, because everything is connected to each other, and all of our cases is somehow connected to the Russia, unfortunately, and their influence. And so, in Georgia, filmmakers, collectives, and are rising up because of what has happened last years. And I will tell our story. We have right now a Documentary Association of Georgia and Georgian Film Institute, and what we have got, it's collective of filmmakers who are protesting and who are against what's going on in the film fund, the only film fund that we have. So everything started with that from the documentary films, and the biggest our government realized when Salome Jashi's film Taming the Garden was premiered in Sundance, the influence and the power of documentary filmmaking. Have you seen this film, Taming the Garden? Yeah. So a lot of I'm happy. And then they just realized that how influential might be documentaries, and they decided to control the content that Georgian Film Fund has to finance only the films that they want. They want happy endings, as they told to us, and they don't want independent filmmakers and independent voices. So one day they changed the head of the film fund, and he comes from the penitentiary system. He doesn't have any background of the filmmaking. And filmmakers, we independent filmmakers, went there, and we have the only one thing that we want from them, that the head of film fund, we want to be elected by filmmakers. Isn't it fair? And so we started protests after that, and no one is listening to us. They are just pretending that everything is very good, everything is peaceful, there is a peaceful situation in our industry, and even they have a booth here, and yesterday they had a happy hour, but still 450 filmmakers are boycotting them, and so we are boycotting. And for us, boycott means that we are left without anything. Without their support means that this is the only fund. So it's not about funding. It's not about money. It's about what they want to transform from our country, and that's very painful for us. And the demonstrations which are right now in Tbilisi, and all these 450 filmmakers are standing there, and Polish, they are beating them. And if you will see the photos of the film, not only the filmmakers, but of the people, the actors, how they beat them, and what kind of conditions are there, because we don't want to receive the law that is Russian law, we call that. And we don't want to make films which will have a happy endings, because at this time in the world there is not happy ending stories, but still we want to be free, independent, and we're fighting for that. And the slogan for our movement of the filmmakers who are protesting everything what's happening in Georgia, we've got this kind of slogan that the art is independent, alive, and political. Yeah. Thank you.
This is clapping. Should clap for all of you and all this work that you've been doing and the resistance you keep. It's amazing. I think I did want to ask this question because you have had no choice but to dedicate your work to become an activist. Maybe you always were, but you're supporting your community, you're creating these new structures, you're out in the streets, you're working with legal teams, you're creating exiled film festivals to showcase other people's work. You've dedicated a lot of your waking days to working in the community. You're also filmmakers, and you have dreams and passions, and filmmaking wakes you up in the morning. I'm curious. I mean, maybe it's essential to be an activist and a filmmaker together, but how do you balance that for yourselves? And maybe Volya, because you did a debut film recently. How does that work for you? You only have like however many hours in the day.
It's a very, very difficult question. I'm actually finishing a documentary that is called Not Made for Politics that I've been working on since 2020, and I started to work on it when we started to have our protests, and when Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, the leader of Democratic Belarus, who's actually our president-elect and who was kicked out by Lukashenko in August 2020 to Lithuania, she's one of my characters. So I've been making a film about her and some other female characters who are have interesting and important stories in this common fight, and it's exhausting. It's exhausting, and one of my characters is still in jail in Belarus. I hope she will be released soon, and it is also exhausting. I mean, I don't want to compare my state of mind and my mental health with the mental health of people who are behind the bars. It's way worse. But this things, I'm becoming emotional. It's just really, really hard to balance, and it's really hard to divide your life and everything. And I don't know, it's some sort of personal traits, I think, of each specific individual who decides to take steps in terms of okay, I'm gonna dedicate some time in order to make a better change for my country or something like that. For example, when we launched the Belarusian Independent Film Academy, it was quite spontaneous. It was actually just to give you an example of how spontaneous it is and how big things can be just a matter of some coincidences. it started actually as I was planning a collaboration with Northern Lights Film Festival, with Tallinn Black Nights Film Festival, and it was 2020. We had a Zoom call with the POF, with Tallinn Black Nights Film Festival, and it was 4th day of war. And then we started to talk with the team, with the head of the festival, and she was really furious. She was like, "Hey, Belarusians, are you doing something? Like, are you taking steps? Are you taking action? Like, look, Putin is attacking Ukrainians from our territory." And we were like, we spent 2 hours, like I spent 2 hours, like, for a political conversation, explaining what Svetlana Tikhanovskaya is doing and how she's trying to, and struggling to actually push forward the Belarusian agenda, how it's difficult and all of that, and how many political prisoners we have. By the way, at the moment we have around 2,000 political prisoners. And many people who have domestic prisoners, and like many people who are in jail, but they are not recognized as political prisoners, but they are still in jail for politics. There are many different nuances there. So, and I was like, okay, I have to do something, like I have to do something. And then after this conversation, like I called my colleague, Alexei Poluyan, who is the director of the film Courage, a documentary Courage. Maybe you've seen it. It's been also in Berlin. It's been like many places. And I told him like, hey, do you know if anyone is doing something? I think we should stand up and make something anti-war, because this. And of course we were all devastated and all of that. And he said like, I haven't heard that anyone is doing anything. And this is how it started. So this is how it started, like simple things, like some personalities like provoked something, and then we were like, we won't be even able to get like 20 signatures, because we were like so scattered as filmmaking community, as an independent filmmaking community. Like some people didn't believe we can get 15 signatures to make a press release. And then when like I created a Telegram group to start collecting it, that there were like more and more people, and people were approaching and asking me to sign them in as well, to sign the list and everything. It was massive. And yeah, but like for us, I think the major challenge is like stay united, because we don't even have this privilege to be inside our own country and fight from inside our own country. Of course, we have this fear of becoming this like diaspora people who are like outside the country, you know, and all of that. So we are really like still trying to keep contact with some people inside the country, incognito, like trying to keep connections with the people with like emergent filmmakers, or someone who has some sort of ambition in like cinematography or any kind of filmmaking. So we stay in touch and we can share with them our experiences. And at the same time, of course, like we don't have funds, neither inside the country nor outside the country. It's very, very competitive. Once we had to flee the country, we started to compete on the entire market as like European filmmakers already, because we are based in Europe. However, we don't have more resources just because we had to flee. So it's a very, very complex situation. And I'm not sure if I answered your question, but...
Well, what you didn't know you had to do it, and it just came to you. You just had to do it. That phone call and those people and the collectivity had to come together.
Exactly. And it's difficult because it's just some circumstances, they push you, and you just take it, and you take responsibility, and you just do it, and then you have to bear with it.
Yeah. Marta, you've had a long experience. You've been producing for a long time, and you've seen the Polish movement like rise and achieve. Like, what was that balance like for you?
All right, so definitely in my country. All right, so I tried to find balance, because I found also a possibility to produce many series for international broadcasters. I made first BBC series in Poland, so my situation was slightly different, because I really tried to find compromises. But I have many friends, many filmmakers, wonderful activists, really wonderful, amazing people who really face the situation of bankruptcy. And this is very tricky, because we are all patriots. We all love our countries. And this, what we experienced, it was extreme nationalism and populism. And this was very tricky, because you all want to talk films about your roots, about your inheritance, but there was not much space for others, for imported subjects, but not exactly coming together with the policy of the previously ruling party. So this was very difficult stuff. But what actually happened in Poland, it was that Polish government tried to close the country, turn people against Europe, focus on national productions. But what they actually did, they pushed people to go somewhere else, to go to other countries, to learn how to do international co-productions and how to find support somewhere else. So right now, when we are rising, and one, again, because you are telling that this is problem for other countries, that they don't have domestic support money. We have quite decent money in Poland. We are a big country, so our fund is great fund. Polish Film Institute, it's a great fund. We have great regional money. All right, regions even more eagerly supported us, supports documentary filmmakers, of course, but they supported us also previously. So we have great system, but all right, this system, we are in the middle of transformation right now, so we are in kind of limbo.
You changed your film commissioner, your head of TV. So
not even a month ago, our head of the Polish Film Institute was dismissed and new competition was announced, and yes, we are waiting. But the whole country, whole industry is in a limbo. Polish public TV is in limbo. So we are waiting who will be our leaders, great guidance, experts. We have to find experts.
You should
leaders.
ask for an election like Irina did in Georgia.
Yeah. So
election by the filmmakers.
So I want to show you, all of you, that somehow, yes, for me it's very important that we have to improve so many things, but I know that we are also strong and we are a great partner and we are also famous for being great co-producer. So Poland is a great co-producer, but I really want to improve the system so much.
So you started by saying that you were not that involved and your colleagues were, but now what I'm hearing is
I'm involved. We are all involved, but I managed to find, the way how to be producer. Not, there are ways how to be, how to survive as a documentary filmmaker. Marry a rich man. Inherit something really great, but that's great to collaborate, to build collective collaboration among similar other, for example, sound studio with share lawyers, share your production manager with others together. That's a great idea. My idea was to produce also commercial stuff, commercial series, also beautiful. Also important for people, because I think I conducted over more than 1,000 interviews in my career, because I was the first journalist and later researcher. And this was a great experience. And so my also commercial series were also important, but not as important as the voice of people who are fighting for survival, their life. So, yes.
The balance you seem to strike was sustainability without the emotional baggage of a husband, hopefully, and to be able to move forward and both work and then spend the time that you had and the resources you had to help with that collectivizing. It sounds like the Reckoning project is kind of, I said smart earlier, and I'm sure if there are smarter solutions in the room, we would love to hear them after the talk. But it is a meeting of activism and filmmaking. And legal, everything together. But how do you balance that for yourself, Luba?
I don't have an answer, actually. My personal balance is my story, but all my colleagues has their own ideas. I would say that during the first year of work in 2022, we also fundraised some money for to support our researchers with psychological support and some retreats, etc. And then half a year later, it was like I was approaching to everybody and telling like, "Hey, maybe you will use this opportunity." And everybody's like, "No, I'm okay. Everything is okay," because we all the time, mostly people are comparing themselves with really awful experiences of their heroes, and they kind of treated themselves really badly and not taking care about their personal mental health. I don't know how to help. Like we run in many trauma trainings, etc., but it's all personal. Like for me, it's and for the core team, it's completely obvious and more easy, I would say, because we do not think about this project as about some work like that we were ordered to do. Like we just do this, and we found our balance in process of work. So it's kind of whenever we produce, like, I don't know, whenever we produce even a short film, like 10 minutes, 15, 25, maybe for one presentation, maybe for some big stage screening, we feel relieved. And also we try to bring all these feedbacks to our heroes and victims, because that brings a lot of help for them, first of all, and giving back this support to us. Like last week or 2 weeks ago, I'm missing the dates, there was a big conference in Chile, journalistic conference, and we decided that we would not only participate, but we signed up for special own event there, and we brought our heroes who are authors, journalists who was captured and tortured, like who was kidnapped and spent 10 days or 1 month in captivity because they were storytellers, because they were journalists. And we brought them to Chile, we did a film about them, and it's kind of really amazing experience when you're just talking and sharing and showing, and especially like in Latin America, when you're sharing the experience, you cannot imagine what they went through. Like we here talking about Eastern Europe, but this process of sharing and talking all this experience, that's the best balance you can find. Because, yeah, you can rest for a couple of days, for a week, for months, sitting at the sea, reading a book, but it will not balance you. Maybe somebody will, of course. I'm glad for these people, but for me, it's not an answer. So for all of us, it's the presentation of work, the feedback of the very real people, and maybe there will be 5 people, but there will be real feedback. It helps. And it also, you see how it helps the victims. It's like a proper solution. We didn't invent anything new for now. Yeah.
You also had the resources, like you put in place those mental health resources to those who want to take it. The fact that it's available, or that it's even possible in your day-to-day, that this can be available to you, is already makes a difference. If they decide not to take it, fine, but
no, it's not fine. That's what we.
You're right that it's not fine, but it's their choice.
Yes, it's like people are completely forgetting about themselves, and I'm not talking only about people who work in the complicated, like political, war, any conflict zones. Anybody who do work, like they have to take care of their own brain, otherwise it will be. Maybe they will start to produce shit also. I mean, it's not helpful not only for them, but also for the people who consume their stuff, because there are supposed to be limits of your, of work.
I completely agree. This is a very, I hope everybody takes that to heart here. But Irina, you are starting this big, it's been going on for a while. It's not like these protests are brand new. You've been already resisting and collectivizing for a while. And you also are producing projects, and we have one of your filmmakers who is here. So there's like creativity and activism and politics all in one in your world
Yes, to be honest, I don't want to be an activist. I don't want to stand there and protest something. I'm just a filmmaker. I want to produce, and I want to do the films. I don't want to stand in front of parliament. I don't want to smell this guess that they are just, and I don't want to, I don't want to be a victim of my government, but we have to. And because of that, we're standing there. And I don't want to just paint this billboards that we are carrying. Yeah, so, but at this time, we don't have another choice. So we are doing. And we will do that till we will end up like you've done in Poland. And we believe that all this will change and we will go somewhere, we will end up in a good way. So because of that we are standing, because of that I'm here, that I believe that we will do our films and we will show everyone our stories that we have, because they are important and they are unique. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that actually for documentary filmmaker, activism is supposed to be the documentary film. So that's what we do. That's our way of spreading the information, the word, the truth, and our opinion. So when I must say that when we say that we don't want to be an activist, we don't want to be street fighters, but an activist, we anyhow an activist, because if you produce in some movie, it means that you want to share some information, that you want to share your thoughts, and have a voice, and it is an activism already. So if you're doing good things.
So actually our hour is coming to an end, but I know that we wanted to end on the potential, because you've spent the hour with these 4 incredible professionals who are all doing very important work. And we wanted to make sure by the end of this conversation that you might have a way to collaborate with them. So we just wanted, like the conversation, we have to end it here, but we were gonna just end with the quick question, not the question, but the, your work is inspirational, it's worthy of admiration, but beyond admiration, there's collaborations, there's co-productions, there's financial support, there's audience support, there's distribution opportunities. So for this crowd of people who have now met you, what would be the, what can you not ask from them, but what would be the best way, the best thing that you could collaborate on? What's important that they could potentially come on board as collaborators on?
Well, I can maybe say that I think for us, for Belarusians in exile, it's very important to talk to film institutions in different countries and see if we can build any bridges in terms of like any kind of collaborations, like creative or financial. At the same time, what we are trying to push for is we are trying to push for like a creation of some sort of film fund or foundation that will be supporting Belarusian filmmakers as well in exile. And this should be or could be also, I think, like a joint initiative of different European countries. Hence, it's important to talk to, again, either film institutions or at least ministries of cultures in these European countries or other countries. So, yeah, there are different ways of like how we are brainstorming. People can help us. Those are just few of them. And if there is anyone in the room who wants to share more or discuss with me or ask more questions, please come by.
Perfect. Marta, I think you want everybody to work with Poland.
Sorry, you already know that Poland is great, so you can come, and really we are stronger than ever. So I will little bit warn you, because from our, maybe you in Eastern countries, you will learn from our experience. Nationalism and populism first sounds great, but it escalates very quickly, and it's always too late to stop it. Seriously, it's too late, and it grows when there is a crisis, and we have global crisis everywhere. So please observe your situation before it will be too late. That's and come to Poland.
Yeah, I would say that what we do and what we try to do is to advocate the topic of Ukraine, and so this story and what is going on is not getting like in the shadow. I know that there are many awful events happening around us, but there's still a way to approach the topic and to be present. And of course, what we want is we want to be heard. And that's why we're collaborating with different platforms, festivals, institutions, museum, art, like different. So we need to find the place, the platform to cooperate. We have many films, different kinds. It's ongoing production constantly, from festival author films to media short documentaries. We organize in different screenings and in different countries all over the world. So we would really be glad to participate, to be involved. And yeah, there was something else really important I want to share, but maybe I will say after my colleague, because I forgot the phrasing. Yeah, sorry.
So we've created a lot of institutions in Georgia right now, as I talked before, to support Georgian films. But right now there is demonstrations because we need those associations to save somehow. Because the new law that our government already received is about foreign agents law. That means that all the NGOs and all these kind of associations that we've got, for example, like DOCA, GFI, that we thought that they would support Georgian films, and the people who are there, they have to go and declare themselves as they are the agents, as like they are spies of the foreign countries. So that means that everything that we are going through is somehow in a danger. So what can be the best thing to support us? Maybe everything. Maybe to spread a voice that what's going on in Georgia, and to talk to your institutions, because this is very important for us. Yeah.
Yeah, just maybe to summarize with all, because we have a lot to say, all of us, about our countries and the region and the circumstances and the conclusions, but it's all somehow it's not present in the wider, less present and less present in the for the wider audience, and because of that, there is just a really easy short coverage of events. I would call this kind of fast food information, like newsreels. Okay, there are so many people beaten, so many people killed, and something like this. So if you would need any more in-depth information, like quality analysis, interesting research, interesting thoughts, like really worth of sharing with your audience, you can approach to me about our topic, you can approach to my colleagues, because these are people who can share a real story, a real valuable feedback about what is going on in this part of the world, so, and not just short information notes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, the four of you, for talking with us today, for really going in depth about where you're at and where you're going and all the hard work you're doing. And yeah, we ended this conversation specifically on the idea that we want you to come and talk and meet and collaborate and spread the word and distribute their works and tell them about your experiences, find connections. That's what the documentary film world is all about. And yeah, thank you for coming today. And thank you so much.